I know I look tired because I am. Let's talk about juvenile regression. It's probably one of the main reasons um, I see a lot of dogs. Um, they are not they are not set up mentally um, to be able to absorb loads of information, and there is a period in development um, that happens. It's Imagine all of the neurons and nuclei and all that fun stuff in their brain. All the little receptors zapping, picking up chemicals. Well, as they grow, the brain increases in size. And that kind of stretches things out. At least this is the way it was explained to me. It makes it so that the brain has to slow down those connections a little bit to keep up with the physical growth. And they get spacey. It's it's kind of neat to watch them when you're working with a dog, where you can almost see them look at the thing and go, I know what to do here, but I can't. During this stage, it's super important. Go back. Go back to square one a million times. A million. I want you to practice every day on little things. If you need to give your dog a couple days off hanging out at home, um, if you need to just sit at their favorite park and let them sniff, um, that's a thing. Keeping dogs during their juvenile phase, when they hit that first one, I think it's usually the larger breeds, it's like 6, 7 months. I notice it. And then I'll start to see one between 15 and 18 months, depending upon the final size of the dog. Um, and a lot of this is anecdotal. I mean, there is some studies out there, but I don't have the funding to research this on my own. Um, and my brain, quite frankly, I'm tired. um, Going back to school is fun. Um, I will see if I can find the links and put them in the mess or in the bottom of the ad or bottom of the video after this. But while they're growing, when you're thinking about dog brain development, they hit that phase where they're getting hormonal. They're turning into teenagers. And those of us that have teenagers in our house know all too well what it's like. You have to tell them a million times to do something. You have them, distracted by the hormones that are hitting them because suddenly there's the opposite sex. Or, if they're not driven by biological processes, their brains are going haywire. It's one of the things, even in neutered dogs, you notice this change because it is one of those things that the sexual hormones aren't going to be there, obviously, in a neutered dog. But you notice this change more exaggerated because we tend to catch on to the fearful and reactive dogs more at this stage, because their brain's not bouncing back and recovering as well from it. It could be genetics, it could be, environment, it could be single event. Dogs can be single event learners. It's one of those things that when we notice it, it's super important for us to go, they're having a derp day. Okay, what can I do to make it easy for them? Asking them to rigidly do something as opposed to giving them a couple of minutes to calm their brain down and think about what it is that you're asking, or just to take a nap, or, giving them the time to disconnect and, get the cortisol levels down in their brain. Super important. A lot of the times in your larger and giant breeds, I've noticed, especially with my Danes, this is a time when a lot of growth's going on. They nap a lot during this time. Boy dogs in particular, I tend to notice that the testosterone is overwhelming their brain a bit. And for the people that tell that, oh, neuter, no. Um, there's too many studies out there. There's now an updated study that goes along and gives the dates that you should be getting your dog fixed, because the removal of those hormones too early, especially if you have a dog that is genetically predisposed or environmentally predisposed to fear issues, can cause issues to become even worse. Um, Especially when you're dealing with dogs that we have an unknown background on. Um, you have to balance the getting them through their hormones and giving them a brain with the medical risks. A lot of the times, behaviorally, I'm going to advocate as much as I can. There are going to be times that I'm going to wait until a dog is absolutely past their testosterone stage to get them altered. My other half's Rottweiler, we waited until the minimum with him, 18 months. As soon as he's 18 months, snip, snip. And that's just because he's a big derp and it was a safety issue. I like to wait 2 years, but I prefer to try to help people understand how to set themselves up for success. Because when you already have a deck of cards that you've been dealt, your best idea is to play the cards that you were dealt to your advantage. If you have a dog that's drivey and you can't manage that, or you have a dog who's had a history of, I had one last year, a couple's dog, 2 dogs were here, and they had used a shock collar, a bark collar on their dog, and when one dog barked while the other dog was asleep, the dog got shocked. So anytime the other dog barked after that, he automatically associated it, because he was right over the top of, or she was right over the top of her brother, because she automatically associated it with, her brother, and she would go after him. Anytime that he startled her with a bark, because he expected it to be painful. And he wanted her to stop barking as quick as possible. Once we gave them distance, there wasn't an issue. Once we made it so that there were no triggers involved, it made a difference. It's a hard thing during those impact periods to have an event happen like that. And when you have all those hormones going, and if you take out those hormones out of the equation, you're taking anything that can cause loss of confidence. You can give them loss of confidence, because the hormone's giving them confidence. It's in the chemical cocktail. But if you have that taken out of the equation, it can make it worse. There's studies to show it. Behavior in adolescence is one of those things that, as we're working through it, a lot of the times we don't stick with the same thing. We might start out with something easy and change and regulate. It's about making it so that you can get a dog on the same page as you, and able to deal with those hormones without losing their mind. And you don't want them to drown. Keep in mind, it's part of development for dogs to kind of lose their mind and forget what's going on. And it's like, hey, you've known this forever. Well, yeah, they're an adolescent now. They're starting to, realize there's other things outside of you at 16 weeks. Or 12, 16 weeks. Past that, it becomes, hormones kick in 6, 7 months, and they start, having an urge to, check out more things, engage more things. Some dogs, when they have that urge, they don't have the part of their brain that has associated new thing with good thing. They have a part in their brain that says new thing's scary, we should run. And that's genetic, environmental, you know, it's one of those things that when you have your dogs encountering new things, you should be making every interaction wonderful. And you should be showing them how you want them to act. If you allow them to drag you forward in this period, it becomes an impact. Going forward works. If you allow them to lose their mind and use that to get them to go where they want, it worked. If barking at something means it goes away or you get to it, the barking worked. If it's hard to have a dog going through this and not get frustrated. But think about it this way, they're as frustrated as you are because they're dealing with teenage hormones. Keep them busy. Give them downtime. Let them learn on their timetable. It's not about rushing to the end. It's not about getting the finished product as quickly as possible. When you're dealing with behavior and teaching a dog how you want them to act, do you care if they act more like a robot or do you care if they act more polite? Do you want a dog or do you want a robot? That's the question. And punitive methods, yeah, they work. I am great, but there is fallout. I used to train that way, and I can't. I would rather be patient and consistent than harmful to my dog, and especially with dogs that are already struggling with hormones, because I don't want that fallout. I want my partner to trust me, and I want them to be there for me. It's not something that you can rush through. You can try. I don't recommend it because you might get the finished product, but you're going to have a whole bunch of other things that you didn't plan on.